In today's episode, we're going to talk about restaurant automation. A lot of the operators I talk to want more automation, but half of them have been so burned by it that nobody can tell you what they really are looking for and what is just a pipe dream that they saw on a sales deck or they think they saw somewhere online. I spent 3 decades inside this industry building tech, watching it get deployed, watching failures, watching people save businesses because they put in a piece of technology. So today we're going to talk a little bit about where automation is going and not pie in the sky. Robots are going to take over the world. AI is going to eat everybody's lunch, but really the idea of what it's going to take in pretty simple terms to get restaurant automations into a place that everybody should be looking at. The 6 categories of restaurant automation that are really paying back and why every one of the listeners out there should continue to look into it and ensure that they've got a path to go forward. Here's what I continue to see when I talk to restaurant operators. They're struggling with labor costs. Labor costs have never been higher. Food costs continue to fluctuate so drastically that it's hard to even make plans for next month, nonetheless, next year. Your managers are struggling with all of the different systems that they compiled together over the last few years. And every time you've got a guest problem or a staff problem, it feels like it's a dire emergency. Guest traffic continues to be down across the entire industry. So the real question that I get asked often is, if I only have one thing to invest in, or if I need to automate something, what are the things that I should be looking at? There are some restaurant operators out there, and many of them listen to the show, who are doing much of this now. But I would encourage all of you, regardless of whether you're full service, you're quick service, you're fast casual, to evaluate these things and figure out, how does automation work into your business? And what are some of the things you should be considering automating? And what are some of the things that make you who you are and are critical to ensuring the brand promise that you have? The thing I want you to take away from these videos is that it's not just software, not just gadgets, but that it's truly things that are going to automate your business and make your restaurants operate like a well-oiled machine and getting you to the place that you need to be. You hear me talk about this all the time, but the POS continues to be the center of the brand and the center of the technology stack that you have. So ensuring that you've got the proper POS that is open to these integrations and allows you to get into doing these automations is really, really critical. Again, because without that, none of the rest of these systems that we're going to talk about today are going to matter. We're going to walk you through the 6 highest ROI areas that I continue to talk to operators out in the market, and what are the things that they are doing to automate their business, make it more efficient, but not take the hospitality out of hospitality. Let's start here. Anybody that's been in the business of running a restaurant for any period of time understands that they've got two prime costs. The first being their food costs. And so ensuring that you've got the proper food costing system put in place and automating that is really, really critical. Somewhere between you placing the order getting fulfilled at the warehouse, and getting to your front door or your back door for delivery, there's lots of areas not only for automation, but lots of areas for issues with that product, with the pricing that came with that product. So automating what's going on as far as the inventory that's getting purchased. Did you purchase it at the same price that you are receiving it at? Did the invoice come in at that same price? Did the pack size that you placed the order for show up at the same time? Many of those listeners that are out there have been around the space for quite some time and remember the manual days of having to send in a fax with an order, maybe going online and then printing that order and then receiving it at the back door. But we continue to see that nowadays there's so much automation that can be done, not just from the automated order that's going into the supplier, but the receipt of the invoice that's coming in to make sure that the product pack sizes matched, to make sure that your purchasing price showed up properly with the invoice that showed up, and that you received the product that's out there. We continue to see more and more pieces of technology going into that prime cost of food and ensuring that you got the right product, that you paid the right price, and that what showed up at the back door is what you ordered. If you don't have an inventory system, it is absolutely critical to ensure that you have that. There are lots of great partners out there that we've talked to on the show and lots of different people that are helping solve this problem. But I would encourage you guys to continue to look at your inventory system and evaluate where technology can make it faster, easier, and all of these things that you would manually go check and do, that you ensure that you've got the pieces put in place to be able to do that. I've watched operators find six figures worth of savings when they just look a little bit deeper. And by six figures, I'm talking $100,000 or more in a single unit by ensuring that what they purchased is what they paid on the invoice, is what showed up at the back door. So finding a time to automate these things, maybe spending three or four or $5,000 on doing that, oftentimes can make the difference between a profitable restaurant that's continuing to grow or a restaurant that is continuing to struggle. Honestly, we look at a lot of the restaurants that I talk to out there. $1 million restaurant that saves 3% in food cost is 30 grand a year that um, they're going to save if they just figure this piece out and automate the system that's out there. So the second thing that I continue to say that people need to be automating is their ordering platform from their guests. Having an integrated digital ordering platform from online ordering to third party delivery to catering, and having that come through to the system and not having to go back and forth between two different systems is really, really critical. When people they don't understand that when they don't have these things integrated, whether it's the pricing that you're putting into the POS that goes to all of these different ordering mechanisms, or the orders that are coming from those third parties and your online ordering going into the POS, there's a ton of revenue leakage there. The leakage comes in the form of not having the proper price, not having the proper availability, having product that doesn't come through to the point of sale, and ensuring that it's getting sent to the kitchen with the order times that it needs to hit, that it's not getting sent to the KDS, making sure that you are receiving every area of revenue that you can. Our consumers continue to be more and more digital every single day. So for those that are not digitally integrating the items that are coming through to their restaurant is so critical to make sure that you spend some time and money to ensure that you're eking every ounce of revenue out of the four walls of the restaurants that you have there. The difference that it makes is that your customers will be able to engage with you the way that they want to engage with you, not necessarily the way that you want to. And again, the minute that they know that they can get that order on an online ordering process or on a third party delivery process and have it be effective and have it come straight through to your point of sale, have it come straight through to the payment methodology, have it come straight through to the KDS is enormous, because now they start to trust that they understand that this is going to come through. You're also not disrupting your staff members having to watch a tablet, having to watch some other screen or printer, and then go re-enter those things. It creates a seamless guest experience. And I know for myself, a lot of times I will order from a brand that I know that I can get my engagement from them the way that they need to. The last thing I would tell you on all of these platforms is being able to go digital allows you the opportunity to not only engage with the guest, but to upsell them to products that have higher margins or things that you might want to sell. Add on a dessert, add on a drink, add on a French fry that you've got high margins on. It's a high level of execution, and ensuring that you're delivering for the guest where the guest wants to be, and ensuring that you are not having to disrupt the staff that's already overworked in the store, struggling to deal with the guests that are there, having that all come straight through and allowing the guest to interact with the brand that you are engaged with. I'm seeing operators do this well in a way that they're driving sometimes 15, 20, 25% uplift in sales when they focus on automating the digital ordering process and making sure that it's coming through. Oftentimes, I had a meeting with a CFO recently who talked about, because they're already paying rent, because they're already paying utilities, because they've already got staff on property, the incremental dollars that are coming in those revenue forms from those other third parties are additive to the top end of your revenue pipeline. And so ensuring that ensuring that you have those items and that it's coming straight through and that it's streamlined, not just for the guests, but for your staff, end up dropping straight to the bottom line and in profit once you take out your food costs, because your labor's already paid for, your rent is already paid for. Now it's really just the food cost that's there. So I would tell you to continue to think about, how is the guest experience and have I automated the process of my digital orders? The third thing that I would tell you to look into from an automation perspective is phone. Your phone is still a critical choke point within the restaurant. I would ask any of you to call your own restaurant on a busy time. Oftentimes, it's either going to get a ring, no answer, or you're going to get a attendant on the other end of the phone saying, "Please hold," because they've got guests in front of them. They're dealing with takeout. They're dealing with some of these other things. So there's lots of technology that you can help automate from as simple as press one to put in a reservation and they can go into the reservation system to press two if you're just looking for information about whether we're open and whether you can bring your dog to the patio. But the biggest thing that I've seen change in the last 18 months is that the advent of these voice AI agents continue to proliferate. There is not a shortage of people that are going to be able to solve this problem with having an agent. And a lot of people that are listening here are going to be skeptical to say, I don't want to hear, press one for this and press two for that. Oftentimes, these agents can be trained for exactly what your brand promise is going to look like. They can have a voice that sounds like your best employee. They never get tired. They never call out sick. They're never having to deal with guests, and they are unlimited in scope. We've had quite a few people on the show that have built voice AI agents. They are oftentimes very inexpensive to deploy. You can train them on the data that you need and that you've got going on within your brand. And they are a huge boon to what it is that you are doing and will allow you the capability to automate those things. Your most reliable employee that you've ever had can only deal with one phone call at a time. They can only work a certain amount of hours. They're going to have bad days. They're going to call out sick. They can only know the menu so well. They can only deal with these things. And a lot of times these voice AI attendants can also, similar to the digital ordering process that we just talked about, they can drop the order straight into the POS if you pick the right one. And so not only allowing you to get digital with an online order or a third party order, but now you've got those people that are calling in, looking, they're driving home from soccer practice, they're looking to go pick up a burger or a couple of tacos on their way home. Now you can automate that process while they're in their car, and you're unlimitedly scalable to be able to do that. And you're not interrupting the staff member that's in the store, no different than I talked about on the digital ordering process. And it's incremental sales. We had a restaurant brand that talked about the fact that they were picking up less than 20% of their total inbound phone calls when they looked at those phone calls that were coming in on their digital system. And so making sure that you are figuring out a solution for that is really, really critical. The last system that I would tell everybody to look at from an automation perspective is labor. Labor is a huge line item. We continue to talk about labor being one of those prime costs that's out there. Scheduling, again, I'm a little bit older or a lot of bit older than many of our listeners out there, but we used to have to build them into a spreadsheet or even on paper. I remember my first restaurant job I would work at, and they would build out the schedule on paper and they would copy it from week to week. But now, with today's day and age, between the staff communications, the guest communicate or not guest communications, the management communications, and the scheduling agent, so many of those things can be automated. There used to be dozens of hours that managers would have to spend figuring out, oh, Susie can't work Tuesdays and Johnny can't work Wednesdays. So I got to figure out all of these different Jenga puzzle to get things together. Now, with today's scheduling software that's out there, and we've had many of those people on the show as well, you can continue to do these things in a very automated fashion. The managers now can get back to training their staff. They can get back to engaging with their staff. They can get back to meeting with their staff and addressing issues, addressing customers' issues, because they're not sitting in the office worrying about who needs to be picking up shifts. All of that communication can also be automated, really allowing them to get back to running the restaurant. I would also encourage you, whatever this communication and management system and scheduling system, it needs to also go into the POS, because having the data about what your sales are going to be historically and putting those into your budgets and putting those into your forecast is also really, really critical to ensuring that you don't have revenue leakage. Cost leakage by overscheduling people and making sure that the employees that you need on the clock are able to be there, that you're able to serve the guests the way that you want to. Again, if you have not looked into automating your scheduling and your staff communications, it is a very, very critical thing. And the amount of technology that's continued to come out to be able to help with this in an automated fashion is enormous. So I would encourage all of you guys to think about that. I have one last bonus tip: the kitchen. A lot of restaurants call it the heart of the house. the kitchen is where you're producing the products that you guys have and ensuring that you guys are making sure that the right product gets out the door, that you've got hot, food cold, that it's showing up on time. Again, we talked about digital ordering, ensuring that you're meeting the guest expectations on timing. So I would tell you that if your kitchen is still running on tickets, it is a huge opportunity for you to automate. We built a product called Kitchen AI recently that is a prediction engine to ensure that you're going to give the proper promise times out to your guests. So making sure that you are automating the way that you're producing your food, that it's showing up on time, that you've got the right product, that the staff in the kitchen is also not having to manage so many different things. Oftentimes in a ticket system, they've got to keep so many different orders in memory. Whereas once you get to the KDS, it is all there. They produce the food that shows up on the KDS, and it only shows up when they need to make it, not necessarily when the staff or the guest has ordered these items. Making sure that you are automating the kitchen workflow and ensuring that the food is going to show up when it needs to, whether that's for a takeout order or that is for the dining room or that is for the patio, making sure that you've got this. One of the areas that we also are continuing to see is really in the bar, even. We're seeing a lot of people, while your timing is less so because oftentimes the bar is just an ASAP order, but even being able to look and not only automate these things, but figure out which bartenders are able to produce at the time that they need to so that you've got the best bartenders in the best shifts. Same thing in the fryer and the pantry and the pizza station and the grill, making sure that you understand who's working those stations so that you schedule the right people, back to our previous point, but you don't get that with tickets. So automating what's going on in your kitchen. I tell a very true story. There was a brand that we had that was working through automating their kitchen, and you would walk into their kitchen on a Friday night and it sounded like a war was going on, or it sounded like a playground at an elementary school when they've been cooped up for 4 hours inside because of a rainstorm. It's as loud as anything else. And so the ability to automate that kitchen and make sure that communication's happening digitally is a very critical piece. And again, I would encourage you guys, if you haven't looked at the bar, if you're an alcohol driven concept, look at the bar, look at in the kitchen, look at the expo line. There's so many different areas of opportunity to automate so much more of what's going on there. There's also areas where we're continuing to see things like robots to run food or robots to bring items back from the kitchen being an area of opportunity that you guys should be thinking about if it meets your guys' brand. There's lots of different areas where this automation, when you think about the kitchen, maybe you're already a restaurant that's running KDS and you've got it pretty tight. Now let's look at where's the next level of automation. Do we need to add it to the bar? Do we need to figure out where there's some food runners? Do we need to automate some of the cooking processes? What are the things that you're doing to ensure that you are delivering on the brand promise that you are looking for? We continue to see more and more innovation happening within these restaurant brands. And again, I talked about it earlier. This prep forecasting and this demand generation from our Kitchen AI product is really, really critical to also making sure that your prep is ready up at the front. And so again, so many of these things in your kitchen have a huge opportunity to make sure that you are delivering where it is that you're looking for. These areas of automation continue to be one of those things that I would just tell every single one of our listeners out there to be thinking about. Because maybe you've dug in, or maybe you dug in 3 years ago to your inventory system. Have you looked at it lately? Do you have a regular process to do that? Have you looked at your digital ordering? Have you ordered from your brand yourself? Have you looked into your phones? How many phone calls are you missing? What kind of scheduling tools are you using? And last but not least, what's going on in your kitchen, and are there areas of operations that you can automate and make them easier? We continue to see more and more investment into restaurant brands, and the ones that are succeeding the most are those that have looked at these critical systems and said, where can I make it better? Where can I make it smarter? All of these things are available today. The future of restaurant tech is not AI doing everything. It's not this human looking robot going and running around. It's investment in your brand to figure out where are the choke points, where are guests getting dissatisfied, where are there opportunities to ensure that you are staying ahead of the curve. Obviously, by listening to the show and watching this video, you are one of the 10% that is out there looking at what are the different things that they can continue to do. Operators every single day are making investments in these areas and they are winning because of it. Many, many, many times when done properly, these things pay for themselves in less than a year. So, yes, while it's going to be hard to consider these things, I would encourage every one of you to look at one of these 6 systems to truly get your brand to the next level. Because if you're not, the brand next to you, to your left and to your right is, and they're going to be ahead of the curve when there's the next bump in the road. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and we'll see you next time.